Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Power Story Podcast. If you're listening on ThriveAfterSports, thank you for tuning in there. It's your boy, Taj Deshawn, and I'm joined today by my man, Joe Hooks. What's going on, Joe?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to have you here. I'm glad we got connected. For those of you who don't know, Joe Hooks is a college success coach. He's a founder and director of the 480 Club. He's a youth advocate, social impactor, youth football coach. Did I leave anything out, Joe?
No, I don't think so.
Man, you got so much going on. You don't even know if I left anything out, man.
Yeah, I have to check. Sometimes I gotta check. Like, oh yeah, I'm that too. I mean, you have your personal stuff, your professional stuff, but overall, man, sports, football, faith, friends, family, and just really there for the people, the young men and women in the community. And so, obviously, we'll talk about that. But yeah, I'm just glad to be hands on, all hands on deck.
Yes, sir, man. You're definitely an example of being hands-on and giving back. And with that being said, man, let's just dive in and talk about, before we get into your story, I want to talk about 480 Club. How did that come about? What's it all about? Just tell people what the mission is, man.
Yeah, 40 Club is to me, it sounds good. So the origin of it is really, I saw a need. We're not from Cali. It's cold over here right now. We got some snow. So, with the way sports performance has been going, those winter months back when I grew up, we had knee football, we did basketball, a little karate, just to stay active. So, the real story is it just overall was the amount of minutes. So one day I was actually going to a friend of mine who has a podcast, and he was showing me his upstairs, like his podcast, doing a radio show called Ball Hogs Radio, like more about Redskins. I'm a Ravens fan, by the way. So we try to beat the Chargers, whatever. But anyway, um, so I go downstairs, and he's like, "Hey, have you seen Soldier Fit?" And I was like, "Nah, it's a gym," because I've had a lot of gym memberships. When you're an athlete, you like to see other gyms and get in where you fit in. So I walked around, I saw the gym, I saw some turf space, I saw like a lot of square feet. So I meet the manager, and he was like, "Hey, I want to introduce you." And he was like, I was like, "Nah, I know who you are." And he was like, "How you know me?" I said, "You didn't give me a job." And he was actually previously was a manager at a gym called Fitness First, and I was trying to sell memberships, thinking like, yeah, I was in shape. I came out of college, I knew sports, I could know a lot of people in the community. So he had that strong face, like he you kind of called me. He's like, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, this space right here, I got some youth that really needs this time and space to get better during the off season, mentally and physically." And fast forward, it was the amount of minutes. So if you tell a fifth grader 8 hours or 480 minutes, what's really going to impress them? And so I knew the mind was really important, and I used the minutes, and I felt like it was strong. So you got 360, 180, and I said 480. And it was just, I just trusted my gut with it, and I stayed with that through everything I've done, doing. And, it's really unique. And a lot of those guys from that original class are now at Pittsburgh, West Virginia, D2 schools, D3. Young men are, doing great things and business school. So it was really just a response, filling a void, and you know, a way for help me to thrive after being in sports. Honestly, just to stay connected to the process and teach these young men. I'll have guest speakers from NFL retired players like Orlando's Gary. He lives around here. I had D1 players. Trayvon Diggs came. Derek Tangelo, who's at Penn State. So really just want to inspire, reach the youth, and just stay active. So that's the 40 origin, and it's like we're talking more, but that's where it came from, and that's why it's 40 Club.
That's amazing, man. And this was not over, but almost what, 7, 8 years ago at this point?
About 6, 7 years ago, it started. I did it like as a grassroots volunteer. As I realized as I continue to do it, I got the LLC just looking on Google and YouTube just to create, protect myself from a liability standpoint. Because we did a lot of things. You go to college condition. I don't know wherever you play. Where'd you play ball at?
I played at Stony Brook in New York.
Okay, yeah. So okay, actually, I know Quentin Littlejohn, one of our a guy I coach.
That's my guy right there, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
see, Smoke Road. That's a good dude. He's from the area. He's from MV too, where I coach kids. So we've done workouts. Stony Brook, New York. But most of the same things you do, the process is the process. So during the winter conditioning right now, if it's really the gut checks, the training, the speed, agility, the mental toughness, the brotherhood, that is what I was trying to teach them at an early age, and build their mind and body up, and learn from somebody who's been there. So that's the workouts we were doing, and like I said, from there it was just really to respond to the community. So that was really cool. It was good times.
Yeah, man. So I'm curious, when you had the conversation with that dude, with the gym owner, where you told him, "Hey, I remember you," did you already know going into it, like, I'm here specifically to get this space so that I
No,
can use this to try? It just popped up right there in the
you know, I
moment.
mean, I'm a man of faith. You know, I think everything happened for a reason that I actually went to that podcast invitation. Then on the way downstairs, I took the time out. I think we got to be open-minded, more open-minded as brothers and using our relationships. I preach that a lot through my college success job. And as an athlete, that your teammates are your fraternity, your brotherhood, your connector, right? So when I walked in, especially after sports, I wouldn't say using my frustration, but using my passion to say, you know what, in this moment, I'm going to tell this man to his face, like, yeah, I remember you. And right there, I felt like he had to look at himself and say, you've been able to do all this, and this is what you do, and now you're here today. And if I would have been never said anything, maybe 40 Club would never be here today. And
Mm,
so I'm glad I felt comfortable and confident to tell him that because I had nothing to lose, and I really didn't do it for profit. You know, it was an LLC, but I operated like a nonprofit until I got a nonprofit technically 2 years ago called 40 Cares. Um, but I do a lot of things, and my main thing is to keep money in the community, serve the community, and have youth and young men thrive through sports and after sports. So, but yeah, it was uncomfortable, but at the same time confident because it was the truth.
right. And congratulations on getting that 501c3 status, man. I know some people that's still waiting on it, and you got
Yeah,
it done.
yeah. It's a journey, and I always say this. This is one of my motives: is if it's positive, it's possible. And so it ain't like I'm trying to make money off of selling something that don't work, or I just think that makes, if it doesn't need, and you follow through and you persist, right? You have that dog culture, that mentality to fight through the processes and ask vulnerable questions. I think that's something that as athletes is someone that we've been programmed, and we follow our coaches in the plan that using those skills to continue to complete other things in life, and that's what really can help you get through other things you want to do. So
Well said, man. I definitely think people need to hear that message. And just for everybody who's tuning in on Thrive After Sports, man, it's easy to look at Joe Hooks, the man today. You got 480 Club, you got 480 Cares, and you're having an impact on the youth, and they're going on to play at the next level. But can you just talk about what it was like for you? I know you were a team captain at Shepherd University, man, a baller, a linebacker, right?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. And then can you just talk about what that was like, man? Like as your career wrapped up and you had to carve out a lane for yourself. What was that process like?
Man, it was tough, and I think that's helped me lead to my passions. I said I did. If everybody made it, who would be there to help people who are trying to make it, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
we gotta put ourselves, get unselfish. And so in college, I did an in-state major, and I was like, okay, I like sports, and it was kind of like sports management, and I'm thinking about football. And we won 4 conference championships. I lost 1 conference game in 4 years. We got 4 rings. We lost in the regional championship 2 years in a row to some tough teams that had a lot of good teams. But when you're winning and you're playing a lot, like early, I think it kind of blinds you. I think the attention focus goes on making plays and making on conference, and I always tell people this: it's harder being a little bit good or good compared to just not being good. So if you know you're not really that good, you're gonna focus on your major, your internship, your next steps. But when you're playing, when people tell you you're good, you're not gonna not think about being good and what that can do for you. You're gonna think about ball. But if no one's telling you you're good, why wouldn't you, when you're on the sideline in your dorm room, think about, am I going to get my master's? Am I going to study abroad? Am I going to start my business? Am I going to reach out to this person? So, I played early, about 3.5 year starter, nickelback my freshman year, and then outside linebacker. I battled some injuries, but I always push through. I always try to overcome and prove people wrong and prove people right. And so it really got to my last semester, and it really hit me one day. I remember the emotion. I don't remember exactly where I was, but I was like, "Oh, what am I doing? Like, what's next?" And I knew with the scholarship, your ends at your semester, right? They're ready. So I was thinking about changing my major because I realized my major didn't hold a lot of weight in the economy, and I graduated in a recession. I graduated 2008, so I got scared. I was nervous, but I said, okay, well, as a black man, the best thing, one, is embarrassment. So we got to realize, okay, I don't want to be one of those college students that didn't finish in time, and I'm still walking around with my jersey hoodie, and then there's a freshman walking around with my number. So, in my school, I would say I had a lot of older coaches that were in and out. And so I didn't really have that connection. We were very organized, but the next step, and I had to really coach myself up. And I was really nervous about what I was graduating with, but I said, hey, let me get out of here and not get in any more debt. So in hindsight, I think being in school longer would have put me in a better place. Maybe GA, master's program, just because the economy sucked. And I feel like the world owed me something. Like, hold up, I didn't go to jail. I haven't had nobody pregnant. I played ball. I was successful. So why isn't a company calling me to offer me a position because I did what everyone told me to do? And we have to combat that mentally, and talk to each other and prepare each other. And so that's why I'm glad I'm a coach to inspire and educate these young men on, hey, you got to go and get it. No one's going to come to you. And I had to get over that pride and just wrapping it up. Even coming out, I did my pro day at West Virginia for a D2 school. Like that doesn't really happen easily, and so I had a good size, about 228, ran a good 40 time, hand time 4.344, honestly. And I did that. That experience was crazy. How detailed you want to go, but overall, I'm running a 40-yard dash with Mike Tomlin, and I'm seeing 55 cameras going off. I wasn't used to that every day like West Virginia was in practice. I was there from 9 to 5, and I had a tangerine and a granola bar, and I'm doing L drills for the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Vikings, and it's an experience I'll never forget. And that led me to kind of keep going, but it was kind of unreal because I didn't know what was going to be next because eventually an agent came and stuff. And so I was really navigating through that process by myself. And it was kind of hard to let the game go. But then I know at the end of the day, things happen for a reason. And I've been able to impact a lot of young men to be better prepared or just have someone they can reach out to, to get to where they got to go. So, um, I value it more, but it hurt for a little while. And, even if I was at West Virginia, the Redskins called me and have them call my phone and say, "Hey, we want you to come to the facility, work out." That was just really testament to hard work. And I tell everyone that I coach, like, "Hey, there's a chance if you're good, they'll find you." And that's definitely true.
Right. Yeah, man. I love that you touched on the fact that a lot of us, especially as athletes, especially as black men, we have this mentality that the world owes us something, man. And you kind of go through this. I remember I had people tell me while I was still in school, like, you have no idea how spoiled you are. Like you got everything handed to you on a silver platter because you're good at a game, and everyone else, they have to scratch and claw and figure everything out for themselves and how they're gonna come up with the money and this, and that. And it's crazy, man, because like you said, you came out of school once, football didn't work out professionally, and you came out in a recession. So how did you overcome that? Because I know you probably had to do it quickly, like be like, okay, the world doesn't owe me nothing. I'm in the middle of a recession. But like, what was the next steps for you to just start the process of getting back on your feet to like even get to where you are right now?
So honestly, keeping it a stack, like it wasn't really quick because I just dove into a different team, I would say. So I would hang out with different people that I wouldn't be around if I was trying to be on the track that I am now. So I'm in the
Mm,
strip club, I'm in the club life, I'm going out of town, I'm doing all that to keep my mind busy to not face reality. I was trying to not face reality, that it was over, that the world wasn't there for me. And I'm like, go to Enterprise, work where? Work like, nah, I'm Captain Hooks. Like I did this and that. And so I really hid in that distraction for a while until, to be honest, you know what I'm saying, this is gonna impact or touch on anyone's life. Like it was one day my mom said, she said I love you, but she really actually said she wasn't proud of me, and that really triggered to me that can't be the last story. That can't be the story I write. That cannot happen because that was a wake up call. And I needed that tough love, and that's what I got most out of football was tough love. That's how I responded. And so I always compare people like this, and it's no disrespect. It's like you either a lab where you want to be petted, or you a pit bull where you want to be a stick or rope you want to go get and hang on to and fight for and call for. So I'm the type of player that needed to be pushed and be told and doubted or told the truth instead of like pampered. And so, I didn't really grow up with a father figure or a coach like me. So, my mom was that safe haven, and she allowed me to stay with her. But I had to just tap into my passion. Honestly, I was doing a lot of things that I wouldn't even say. But one day I went down to MV football field where I grew up. Actually, Stephon Diggs played there. Trayvon Diggs, his brother. A lot of guys, a few guys that curve from the area, plays for the Panthers right now. I went down to work and I went back to my roots and I saw practice and I was like, hold up, I feel good here. This is what good feels like. And I realized the football game was brought me back. Football brought me back through the youth. Um, I feel like I was part of a team again, and I just used that adrenaline. You know what I mean? Like after kickoff teams, I was on the casino. I was trying to hit blackjack. Now I'm like, now I can go tell this 10-year-old how to blitz or this 14-year-old how to hit somebody hard and make a play and go to private school for free. So I needed that feeling again, and that's what football gave me during when I was playing, and then after. And so after all that, I got more in my hands into their life. Like it was food, community resources, programs during average time, and so that really would help me branch off.
Wow, man. Hey, I just want to say, Joe, I appreciate you sharing the part about you trying to mask it because I know somebody listening right now has either been through it or is going through it right now. I for sure went through it, so I know exactly what you mean, man. It was a whole lot of, I always say, when I came back from college, I had an extended college, meaning, all the homies from back home who went off to play at different schools, we were back home in the same area now, and we just went out and drank. It was like Thursday through Sunday, man. And I had a similar experience too, man, whereas my mom, who brought it to my attention, it was that she said something to me about how much I was drinking and staying out late and all that stuff. And then also, it was like a meme going around at the time. You probably seen it with T.I. where he said something like, you're drinking and popping bottles in the club every weekend. What are you celebrating? And that really hit me because I'm like, yeah, I'm unemployed. I got nothing going on. I'm living back home in my childhood bedroom. And here I am at the club, like I'm a big shot trying to buy bottles every weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
for sure. It's
yeah,
funny
man.
too. Even we as grown men, I'll go to like Top Golf, we out to eat, and we all not complaining, but like the bill 200. But we was spending like I got receipts. If we spending like 6, 8,000, 10,000 in the club, and I'm like, how was we moving like that? My folks was buying cars in the club, and now we over here conservatively having a good time, quality, and spending way less money and have a certain way about it and mindset about it because credit is money, relationship is money, equity is money, investments is money, having a salary job is money, benefits is money. Not, this shirt doesn't need to be Gucci right now to make a difference. And so for a while we thought that did, like a jersey, like, oh, I play for Stony Brook, I play for Shepherd. That is my hoodie to what you are, what you're not. And so you know, yeah, it's really just getting humbled and hopefully sooner than later. And that's what these young men need to do. I've actually had people reach out from different parts of the world, honestly. Like I connected with a guy, my bad for not remember his name, but tight end from Michigan. I'm like, Michigan, you play at Michigan and you're reaching out to me, figuring out how do I, and I'm thinking like, yo, you play for Michigan? Like you can't call like um you know, Charles Woodson or something. And be like, how do you? So it's just really like it's out there for everybody. Everybody go through it in their different ways. And I think what I've learned the last 2 years too is like having vulnerable conversations. And that's why I don't mind being on this podcast because somebody either gonna listen, not listen, and it's just motivating somebody out there who might not know or feel comfortable to reach out yet. I mean, people reach out to you, to me, whoever, and it's a small world. I mean, we already realize we know somebody right now, Quinn Littlejohn, hard worker, good guy, someone who I know who's just going whatever he's doing. I think he's coaching or teaching, but I think he'll use that football process. He had a good foundation, you know what I mean, and so, but at the same time, with football players, they think because that we always got to figure it out because we always have, and that's what we got to realize that sometimes it's okay to get help, ask questions, or break bread with people too.
Right. Yeah, man. Once again, just dropping gems. That's all important stuff. Like you said, especially for football players and just athletes in general who are super prideful, man. Just feeling like for sure that was me. Like you just said, that was you too, where you feel like you can't ask for help. You can't show that you're going through something. You can't even say, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing right now, let alone that I'm struggling internally. You know what I mean? How did it start to manifest for you where you realize, all right, I'm basically just masking everything, right? And I know moms brought it to your attention, which is shout out to moms for for
Yeah.
interjecting there. You know what I mean? And making sure you got back on the right track. But how did you start to kind of heal that internal self and start to open up and be vulnerable with people and just start getting serious and mapping out those next stages?
So the quote, like, it takes a years to build a reputation, but a second to lose it. And so I
Mm-hmm.
realized as kids look up to me, they watch me, and they want to, mirror you succeed. And I didn't want to let nobody down. And that was just something for me. Is like that was worth it to me. Is not letting nobody down. And so as I saw the response and I saw the connectivity and the relationships that I was able to build, I had to really, you know, put myself to the side and just realize that if I was to be an influence to this young man and then something happened where I'm on the news or I do something wrong, that's going to create 10 other, 20 other, 100 other people that do the same thing. And so, I really just talked to them about getting out, but coming back, giving back to the community because it's got to be a cycle. And I tell them, like, I'm going to have a son one day and I need you guys to do this because I'm not going to have the same energy or the same influence. But it was really just looking at sometimes, honestly, pictures and be like, yo, is that me? Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And so I took a lot of pride in that growing up that, like, from my school, from my coaches, from my staff, for friends that they could be like, hey, Joe's a good guy. He's doing good things. And, I feel like I was always a kid that played with the fire. And I'm just humbled to be in a position that I always say this, learn before a loss. A lot of times we got to lose somebody within, marriage, relationships, death, things come up. And I'm like, if you can learn before a loss, you're way ahead of the game. So I've never been in jail, right? I've been in handcuffs. I've never got anybody, I don't have a kid, but I had people pregnant, right? So I've had the warning signs, things that happen in a way so that you can make that right turn on the road. And so I'm just blessed that all the prayers, spirits, and friends and family that stuck with me during those dark days, honestly. And I've actually even from 2 years ago just sent people paragraph messages being like humble, but hey, man, my bad for these years for being on edge or and I ain't gonna lie, like the things that was going on, I did learn a lot, but you know how they say like some of the best businessmen are in jail and stuff. It's more so I see a lot of that even in a positive world, but I did lose or affect certain relationships that you know those last a lifetime. So it takes a while to repair that stuff. But I have to be humble, and I reached out and I let whatever happens happens, and just be open minded to new relationships and new friendships and new opportunities. And so I think everything I've been able to do, God has blessed me with a beautiful fiance, great friend, solid foundation, and opportunity to continue to do what I can do for as long as I can do it. And that's what I want everybody to remember is like Hooks was never half-assed. He ain't short me because that's going to be something they're going to use as either example or a crutch later on. And football told me just keep going and be tough, but it's okay to get training, get help, and get better. So that's what it's about.
Man, learn before loss, man. That might even be the title of this episode. That
Yeah,
has
for
a nice
sure.
read to it, man. I feel like people could definitely resonate with that message, especially everything that you said behind it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, it's funny, man. It's the first conversation you and I had. It was cut short for whatever reason, but we weren't able to take that deep dive. But as I'm listening to you really go into it, I'm like, man, it's just crazy how similar the stories are, man. Because
Mm.
I still do similar things where I'll like someone will pop into my mind. I'm like, man, I really did them bad. Let me just reach out and just be like, hey, I was going through it. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for it. But because I was struggling internally, it was just projecting it out to other people. So I have to do that from time to time too, man, to just go back and be like, send a long message or send an audio message and just say, I'm sorry, man. Like, and I encourage anybody listening, if there's someone who's popping into your mind right now where you treated them bad or did them dirty because you were going through something, reach out to that person. Just make it right. That way you don't have to live with it anymore. And that person can be at peace too. It makes a world of difference. So heed Joe's words on that. For real, man.
Definitely, definitely makes a big difference, man. Get that weight off your shoulders. It ain't worth holding on to. I mean, even if you're mad at people, people have done you wrong, didn't support you. And my cousin told me one day, he's like, "What do you really get out of being mad?" Like, if you think about it, like, what do you really get out of it? Okay, and so you get more out of not being mad. If you think about it, like, and so one of the other things I tell my youth is, show me or tell me where it's worked your way, and I'll leave you alone. A lot of times that gets you stuck. So, people always think that like in a video game, I can create like I'm gonna create this world as like a video game. It's gonna be my world. But if you learn before a loss, you realize that people have success leaves clues. People have been there before you. Everybody's not here to hurt you. Somebody knows what you don't know. And so I tell these kids that I don't care if it's a fourth string quarterback with a last string receiver or DB, that person is there and having for a reason, and you either have something to give to them, they can receive from you. You can learn from them, and with that, you could be losing gems. You could be losing businesses, opportunities. I got guys who were like the fourth string quarterback, like a brain surgeon. I mean, and so when people say, "How do I do a lot of what I do?" I don't have a lot of formal contracts. I just have a lot of relationships and being consistent. You know what I mean? And what we say is one day could do a lot. And so you never know who watching you. Like you say, you never know who you affected, good or bad. And be humble to that, because if you're a winner, right? And like George said, you might piss people off, but you obviously have helped people. So just be humble to that, and people will respect it, and if they don't, as long as you feel good about it, you can move forward, because you know, like Nas says, just move forward. Don't be where you are, but just keep moving forward. Nothing can help you back there.
Mm, that's right, man. That's real. And I wanted to go back to this. I wrote this down while you were talking earlier because I wanted to make sure that we didn't overlook it. And it's how you were talking about like you didn't want to let anybody down, and that's what really kind of took you out of that place of feeling sorry for yourself and started being like, man, I'm a role model, And this is something that I know you share this with the youth too, man. And I constantly share this to athletes in transition. Like, you're still a role model. Like, just because you didn't make it professionally or your professional career is over, like, people are still looking up to you. Your nieces, nephews, little siblings, anybody, even people older than you might be looking up to you. Like, what is he going to do next? What is she going to do next? And it's almost like if you don't realize that, then the example you're setting is, oh, you just peak when you're playing your sport, and then you go off and just kind of live a mediocre life after that. So I didn't want to overlook that, man, because I think that's so important that you touched on that. Like, you're still a role model, whether you want to be or not. Like, I'm sorry, you want to say something?
No,
I
I
don't
think
want
you're
to.
right, man. It's like, I see guys signing days coming up, people going to Penn State, bigger schools, Wade and Shepherd and Stony Brook, and it's like that's selfish. Why continue to support them or not support them and get to Shepherd or Stony Brook, or just see that if they do better, that means you're doing a good job. As a black man, if we don't go to jail, if we're alive, that gives them hope. So it's like I don't have a kid yet, right? So it's hard to stand, but it's the close thing is coaching, because they look and they watch everything you do, and so when you realize that that's what helped affect you, from good or bad. So if you're either like, hey, I want to be like this person or I don't. And so I tell these kids, I didn't play football until I was in middle school. I'm coaching kids at 9 years old. I'm like, look, you can get further than me because we're doing the process way before this. And we know the statistics of who really gonna make it, but that instills them to be better husbands, fathers, friends, co-workers, businessmen, entrepreneurs, and they'll realize later, right? Plant the mustard seed, let it grow. That those things really help them. And for anyone who like doesn't have that feeling, just volunteer. Go back to where you're from. Go back to your neighborhood, and you'll realize you'll see a lot of people who are familiar. Oh, that reminds me of my man Joe. That reminds me of my man, Tyler. And so you'll start to have those emotions to it, and hopefully you be empowered and motivated to keep going, because yeah, you definitely don't want to be that guy to be like, hey, I don't want to go to school because Coach Hooks showed me that school wasn't worth it, or and just make the world better, man. Because someone, good karma, good blessings, somebody's gonna come after you.
That's right, man. Powerful stuff right there, Joe. And I wanted to ask you too, man. I want to bring it back to 480 Club and 480 Cares, right? So you had that moment in the gym. The dude starts letting you use the space to start training kids. But that was only the infancy, man. That was only the beginning. Can you just talk about the evolution over the past 6, 7
Yeah,
years? How you continue to grow it and push it and expand it and just have a broader impact on the kids, man?
yeah. So I've done that the last 7 years, probably 6 years. I obviously couldn't do it right now with COVID. That was the last thing I did before COVID. But so professionally, I was working in school systems, nonprofit, Department of Juvenile Services. So what I did was I kind of meshed the two, and I had this idea of doing this neighborhood give back, and I was able to connect with this lady through a friend, and she came to my office, and they were kind of on the same page, and so I took this small opportunity and I did like something called Holiday Hoops, and it's really having a heart. So just to even bring in more, my mother, who we talked about, she owned a daycare business, a home daycare business, right? And so that gave me the experience of working with diversity, young men and women, just having a heart. My dad was a very hard ass from Philly and just not really in a good mood kind of guy. But so being able to use those skill sets, but then using sports as something that I thought I was missing that gave me my identity, my relationships at the time. I did a Holly Hoops event and it was right before Thanksgiving. And I was like, yo, I want to make sure these kids have a hot meal. They have something to do. They're not alone. We played basketball, 3-on-3 tournament, and we had a guest speaker. And that was really good. And from that small, basic to none, compensated wise, that created another conversation where I was able to get offered 2 contracts to partner and work in 2 school-based wellness centers. And what those are is an extension to the school with the county government that offers positive youth development, case management, health coordination, mental therapy, group mentoring. And so we know in the hook of sports and services really intertwine. And so through sports, we can meet these young men where they're at and get them where they need to be or want to be. And that as well. I also worked in the recreation department, and I was the director of all these vendors coming in and doing cooking club and basketball and yoga. And one day I was talking to this lady who does a cooking class, and I was like, "How much you get paid?" And she told me, I was like, "Oh, I'm on the wrong side." So I saw the quality coming in. I said, "I can coach these kids. I'm from this neighborhood. I look like them. I know." And so it went from one day to 1 hour to eventually being at 6 schools over 2 hours, and I had other friends go out. So we was tapping into over hundreds of kids every day in the community, and so it's really I've been able to respond. I've been able to adapt. I've been able to come up with a blitz to get inside the system to do what I do, have fun with youth. They don't pay me cash, but the county dollars, the government helps me make an impact with these youth, and so that's how it's expanded to where I actually left the state's attorney's office and worked on my own LLC for a year. And now I'm blessed to work at college tracks that gives me the skills to work with younger adults. So I work with 4-year college students at Maryland University, Towson, Hood College, Salisbury. And so I'm really just looking to expand myself and grow, right? Climb the ladder and put it all in one big picture to either one day I have my own center or maybe the county creates a position where I can really do all the things I do with one hat into one. And so that was how it expanded. And it's been the consistency of effort. I'm really big on using the word effort, like Ray Lewis, effort between you and you, effort in relationships. So, I tell anyone can do it. If you use those 2 things, good things can happen.
I love that, man. I think that's so important for people to hear too, Cho, because like you said, it's just effort in relationships, man. You had a vision, you knew what you wanted to do. And because you already had the vision, it was easy for you to just identify opportunities. You didn't really even have to look for them. They just kind of were presented in front of you because you were always focused on the big picture. And
Mm-hmm.
that's important, man. I love that you shared that. And I like how you went into the future too, because that was one of my questions I was planning on asking you is like, what's next? But you got the center, like having a center, I think that's a game changer, man. And because the type of dude you are, like, and what I'm learning through your story, I think that center is coming a lot sooner than later, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I'll definitely, try to dive in. They say the door, what do they say? If you can't get the door, knock it down. But sometimes the door ain't always locked. You just got to really do the work to open it. And so I put my face
right.
to people. I've been consistent. And I would say only God knows what's going to be next, but I just know whenever it is that if I give my best effort and I use my relationships, then it should work out. And so I'm still trying to prepare myself for whatever it is. And that's why it says in the Bible, it's like you don't know what I'm doing today, but tomorrow you understand. And so I think that's really like living. If you knew what was going to happen, how are you really living? You faithful steps. What I mean, prayer with action. And so I think that keeps me on edge, right? Like if you don't know what they're going to run, are they going to run a play action? Are they going to run a tall sweep? And so that feeling I love. And so I have visions at night. And so if you follow my page or mention like I'm doing an activity, I'm doing a program, and it's like I thought about it so much. Like I was talking to one of my fellow coaches. He works at a company and he does after school care, and it's like I want to have my own black male youth camp over the summer. Like I want to really nurture these kids, and as a black man, work with black boys, life skills, tough conversations, sports obviously is a hook, arts, all those things, and really see what we can do. And I think that's going to be unique. And I think, I have relationships with different people in different places. And I'm thinking that if that can kick off, one, it could obviously bring another stream of income, but two, make a bigger impact. And those two things matter to me. I want to make sure that it makes a bigger impact than the income. And so, the Bible says, enjoy the fruit of your labor. But really, a lot of times I do stuff for nothing because that's what really matters. And people got to realize that turns into something. A lot of people are like, I ain't gonna do that unless it pays me. Like, dude, the payment sometimes is the relationship. The payment is the opportunity. The payment is, you know, um, every Saturday I give out food to people, and I see women or men coming up with tears or pregnant with kids. To be that humble to come get food, there's no better way to start my Saturday to humbly put myself in a position to help, so that I enjoy and appreciate my bite, my drink, my opportunity to eat. Because things can change tomorrow, and hopefully they could be there for me. And that's what I think God created us all for, to be there for each other. So, to get to that point takes time, and I'm always trying to work on myself. I'm reading a book right now, just the Way of the Superior Man, but just trying to find things to reassure my thinking. And when you don't have a coach, right? A lot of y'all watching, if you're an athlete, you got to learn how to coach yourself and use those things that coaches did teach you, those same tools. Studying the playbook, right? So study winners, study things that make sense, study things you don't understand, so you can have a better plan, right? A better way to attack that goal, and see what can happen. And it is what it is. You're gonna go that way or that way. And like I say, sometimes you be on a treadmill going nowhere. So I just say, take that leap of faith, be positive, reach out, fail fast, and it'll come to you sooner or later.
We're just gonna let that breathe for a second, man. Anybody listening right now, there's nothing for me to
Yeah.
say, man. Just run back that last,
I
two,
know I
three
talk a
minutes.
little fast, so if they want to rewind, but it's just, even coming here, I ain't got no script. We didn't really do too much. It's just really a conversation. We've talked one or two times, and wherever this goes, like, I know that guys put us in this time right now to talk about it, and hopefully, I'm not saying I get something out of it because I get it off my chest. I get to share it, and then receive it, and maybe Quentin, I don't know, but just like I said, you don't know what's next, and you gotta just keep doing things you want to do, and listen, right? Listen, right? Just everybody want to see, but listen, all right? Or what they say is talk less, listen more. One mouth, two ears. So, you know, just listen and different signs, and trust your gut, and I'm sure that things will come to you. And that's what I love about grassroots leaders, man. We create, we have a culture that obviously is worth millions, but we have a great mind. We have a great culture of people, and if we continue this, so many things can happen. You're gonna inspire someone to do a podcast. You're gonna inspire someone like me to write a book one day. Like, you influencing somebody every day, and so I'm a better talker, right? I could do an audio book, but I'm like, if somebody could do that, there is always, I say this: everybody got a story to tell, but it's up to you to tell it. And sometimes it's through being hands on. Sometimes it's through reaching other people. Sometimes it's writing things, or saying, whatever it is. And so figuring out what's you and what's best, and sharing that story. So, I ponder about that in certain times. I think, I want to get to a certain place, but I have a lot of respect for you. Without you, we wouldn't have this conversation. So you got vulnerable. You tap into your passion than the status quo of what you should be doing. And you're taking the time out. You're on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, and look what we're doing here. And it's just a real cool thing to be a part of. So thank you for having me on.
Joe, thank you, man. I definitely appreciate you. We could go another few hours on this, but I definitely want to be respectful of your time. I know you got a million things to get to. I really did mean it, man. For anybody listening, you might want to run back that last 5 minutes. I know I'm going to when I listen to it back. But Joe, this has been tremendous, man. Just you just being vulnerable, sharing your story, dropping gems, giving advice. We got a little bit of everything on this episode. And I know that a lot of lives are going to be touched by this one, either now or, years from now when people listen to this or watch the video, man. So definitely appreciate you. It's a pleasure to have connected with you. I know we've been following each other's work for some time now, but for us to actually be having conversations and be able to share like this, especially with people to listen in, it means the world to me, man. So thank you for coming on. Before we get out of here, please tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can support the movement, all that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, I thought about the message you sent on LinkedIn. Like, you reached out, you got uncomfortable. We didn't know each other. And I was like, I missed it. So, respect to you for hitting me back. I challenged myself to be more engaging or in the LinkedIn platform world. So, the best ways is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, Joseph Hooks. Instagram at 40 Club. As you see, here's at 40 Club. Twitter is at 40 Cares. And what else? So email joseph.hooks at 480.org. Hit me up on those platforms or email me. Love to connect. I got friends everywhere from, Miami, Cali, New York, Midwest. And so I like to build opportunities, build relationships. I travel a lot through coaching 7-on-7 or taking kids to colleges. So I really like to make it more educationally based and really experience the world, man. Being on quarantine, like we were talking about San Diego, like just go whenever I can go, see it, meet new people, and get out of your comfort zone, man. It's okay to go to a gym and not be super tight, or go to a bar and say hello to somebody. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. Hopefully we all are. We're safe, and hopefully I look forward to hearing from anyone who's listening. So appreciate it.
Man, awesome. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. Joe, thank you again for coming on. This has been another great episode of the Power Story Podcast and Thrive After Sports with my man Joseph Hooks. Please go get in touch with this man. Follow up with everything he's doing. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks again, Joe. Appreciate you, man.
All right, man. Peace, man. I'll let you.